If you care about a healthy planet, then you need to know what's really killing our bugs. And the answer might surprise you. For decades, we've heard about the importance of insects. They pollinate our crops, break down waste, and form the foundation of food webs that support birds, mammals, and even us. But something alarming is happening right under our noses. Insect populations are plummeting at a rate that has scientists, farmers, and nature lovers deeply worried. Across the world, insects are disappearing fast. Over 40% of species are in decline, with a third facing extinction. This isn't just a problem for entomologists or people who love butterflies. It's a crisis that could affect every single one of us, from the food we eat to the air we breathe. Imagine walking through a summer meadow and hearing only silence, or seeing fruit trees with no bees buzzing around them. That's the future we're heading toward if we don't act. This isn't just about losing a few bugs. It's about the collapse of food webs, failed crops, and entire ecosystems coming undone. Insects are the unsung heroes of our environment. They pollinate 3/4 of the world's flowering plants and about a third of our food crops. Without them, the plants that feed us and countless other animals would struggle to survive. Birds, bats, and fish that rely on insects for food would also decline, creating a domino effect that could unravel entire ecosystems. When insects vanish, it's not just the bugs that disappear. The ripple effects are felt everywhere. Birds that once thrived on caterpillars and beetles now struggle to feed their young. Frogs and fish that depend on aquatic insects find their food sources dwindling. Even the soil suffers, as fewer insects means less decomposition and nutrient cycling. The loss of insects is like pulling out the bottom block in a giant Jenga tower. Eventually, everything above it comes crashing down. For years, we blamed insecticides. It made sense. These chemicals are designed to kill insects after all. And there's no doubt that insecticides have played a major role in the decline of many species. But as scientists dug deeper, they started to notice something strange. Even in places where insecticide use was limited, insect populations were still dropping. Clearly, there was more to the story. But now, scientists are pointing fingers at something unexpected: fungicides. These chemicals are supposed to protect crops from harmful fungi, not insects. For decades, they were considered safe for bees, butterflies, and other beneficial bugs. But new research is turning that assumption on its head. It turns out that fungicides, especially when used in combination with other chemicals, can have devastating effects on insect health. Chlorothalonil, a super common farm fungicide, was meant to kill harmful fungi. It's one of the most widely used fungicides in the world, sprayed on everything from potatoes to peanuts. Farmers rely on it to keep their crops healthy and their yields high. But what they didn't realize is that chlorothalonil doesn't just stay on the plants. It drifts into the air, seeps into the soil, and washes into streams and rivers, where it can come into contact with all sorts of non-target organisms, including insects. But research shows it can mess up bees' gut microbes, weaken their immune systems, and even shorten their lives. Bees exposed to chlorothalonil are more likely to get sick, less able to fight off infections, and less likely to survive the winter. Their colonies shrink, and their ability to pollinate crops drops dramatically. And it's not just bees. Other pollinators and beneficial insects are also at risk. The chemicals we thought were harmless are turning out to be anything but. That means fewer pollinators and a lot less food for us. If bees and other pollinators disappear, so do many of the fruits, vegetables, and nuts we rely on. Apples, almonds, blueberries, cucumbers, and countless other crops depend on insect pollination. Without it, our diets would become less diverse, less nutritious, and more expensive. The economic impact would be enormous, affecting farmers, food companies, and consumers alike. One study found a 75% drop in insect biomass over 27 years. That's massive. Imagine 3/4 of all insects simply vanishing from the landscape. It's like erasing most of the life from a forest or a meadow. Scientists are calling it the insect apocalypse, and the evidence is piling up from all over the world. In Germany, Puerto Rico, the UK, and beyond, researchers are finding fewer insects in traps, fewer butterflies on flowers, and fewer bees in hives. And here's the wild part. It's not just the chemicals themselves, but how they mix together in the environment. Farms often use a cocktail of pesticides, herbicides, and fungicides, each with its own effects. But when these chemicals combine, they can create new, unexpected dangers. Some mixtures are far more toxic than any single chemical alone, and because these substances can travel through air, water, and soil, Their reach extends far beyond the fields where they're applied. These chemical cocktails don't just stay on the farm, they wash into rivers and streams, where they can harm aquatic insects and the fish that eat them. They drift on the wind, landing in wildflower meadows and forests. Even urban gardens and parks aren't immune. The result is a world where insects are under constant assault from multiple directions, with little chance to recover. So what can we do? The good news is, people everywhere are starting to wake up to the problem. Scientists are working hard to understand exactly how these chemicals affect insects and what we can do to protect them. Farmers are experimenting with new ways to grow food that don't rely so heavily on pesticides and fungicides. And communities are coming together to demand change from policymakers and industry leaders. Farmers are trying out smarter, safer methods, like using fungus-resistant crops and precision tech. By planting varieties that are naturally resistant to disease, they can reduce the need for chemical sprays. Precision agriculture uses sensors and data to target treatments only where they're needed, minimizing the impact on non-target organisms. Some farmers are even turning to organic methods, using natural predators and crop rotations to keep pests and diseases in check. These solutions aren't just good for insects, they're good for farmers too. Healthier soils, more pollinators, and fewer chemical inputs can mean better yields and lower costs in the long run. And consumers are starting to notice, seeking out food that's grown in ways that protect the environment and the creatures that make it thrive. And you can help too. Plant native flowers, skip the pesticides, and support farms that protect insects. Even small actions can make a big difference. A patch of wildflowers in your yard, a window box full of herbs, or a few bee-friendly plants on your balcony can provide vital food and shelter for pollinators. Choosing organic or insect-friendly produce at the store sends a powerful message to farmers and companies that you care about how your food is grown. Communities can come together to create pollinator corridors, networks of gardens, parks, and wild spaces that give insects safe places to live and travel. Schools, businesses, and local governments can all play a role, from planting wildflowers to reducing chemical use on public lands. The more people get involved, the bigger the impact we can have. The insect apocalypse isn't just science fiction, it's happening now, but it's not too late to turn things around. By changing the way we farm, garden, and care for our land, we can give insects a fighting chance. We can restore the balance that nature needs to thrive, and that we need too. But together, we can keep the buzz alive. Every flower planted, every chemical avoided, every conversation started brings us one step closer to a world where insects and people can flourish side by side. The future of our planet depends on the tiny creatures we so often overlook. Let's make sure they're still here for generations to come.